I'm Christine Merrill. My husband Mariner is the immediately finished past president of the Birchwood Community Association. He just finished his term a month ago, and it's been so relaxing.
It's so good to see you guys out together.
Yeah. He was sent on an emergency travel trip, but since we're talking about education and crime, and I'm the mom in the family, he said, you probably know more about it than I do, so.
We're glad to have you.
Sylvia Griffin, former president of Birchwood, was president for about 7, 8 years, and also president of Birchwood and still active.
Good afternoon, I'm Michelle Ross, and I serve as the vice president. I think I've been in the position for 10 years, maybe.
She won't give up and be
a
president.
resident of Birchwood City and love the community that we live in, so thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Jacqueline Key, resident of Glass Manor since '77, from a Boy Scout mom to the president since 2000 of Glass Manor.
The conversation that Mr. Stanton and I had briefly was about sustainability.
Right.
And I know that you guys have been doing a wonderful job with TNI and trying to implement different programs, different projects going on in the area. But my main concern, our main concern, is sustainability after your tenure. Because I know that it takes a while for things to progress. And so we as citizens of the TNI area, Oxon Hill, TNI area, we have some great concerns because I do know personally that Oxon Hill is a low income and impoverished area. So today you will briefly hear some of these concerns from the community leaders here. And hopefully after we discuss that or talk about it, we can have a follow-up with you again. Because we want to make sure that our government officials have accountability in what they say they're going to do and do it. Not just come in for a short while, not to give us any smoke screens, but to be accountable for what you're going to do for our area. So I'm not going to take much time, and I'll let you decide who's going to go.
I'm gonna let Ms. Keys, she's the next, Ms. Keys emails me about everything,
Oh,
so I just wanna make sure that we give Ms. Keys a chance, because she was there when we first started, and,
the man who smiled.
yeah.
Hi.
The man who smiled is a jerk. Well, first I want to say thank you for inviting us out. Like I said, I've been following the TNI group. I don't care if it's not my community. All the meetings they have, I try to attend. And I want to say they're doing a great job. I don't have any complaints. I'll let them know that. If I have a problem, I go straight. To
Mr. Stanton?
Mr. Stanton, if I dial 311 to somebody and I'm not getting anywhere, Mr. Stanton, this is my reference number, and I looked out the door, I don't think it was an hour, the man was cutting the grass, I've been trying to get it cut for 3 months.
But no. But let me just be clear, I don't do this by myself.
No, I'm gonna give her a
Because
problem.
then I sent it to
Okay.
Nicole, I'm in a meeting, please follow up on this
trust-
ASAP.
I am, she knows.
Right, but
You know,
if I can interrupt you just for a second, because I want to, you just hit across
Yeah.
the critical point of, and it goes back to accountability and making it sustainable. So the reason when we announced TNI at Glass Manor, we did it on purpose for a couple of reasons. One, we knew there were a lot of issues going on in Glass Manor, Oxon Hill, in the area, but we also knew that it's an area much like Suitland and other places where everybody who's been elected to office is coming with a new program. I was telling somebody earlier, I was a government employee, everybody comes and got a new program. And it's usually a fad. It's, it's smoke and mirrors, it's what gets you through to the next election, and then it just goes away with you. What I didn't want was a marketing scheme. I didn't want to feel good. What I wanted was something that was going to change and be sustained throughout. And so when we came up with this notion, because when we first came into government, everybody who had worked in government told me, we're already doing that. I had one of the guys I just loved who was a CEO at the time we developed this, been in government more than 40 years. He was like, we do that already. I was like, that's not what I'm talking about, it's different. It's gotta be, if the community doesn't feel it, it's not what I'm talking about. But the reason I wanted to stop you is, when we came up with the 6 areas, we could have easily said, Barry, designate, because Barry's a DCAO, he's public safety. Any crime, any issue, anything around public safety, he gets it 24 hours. He ain't ever off. When the CAO's out and I'm out, he's it. He's the acting county executive. He's the guy that's running the show. So he's busy. And every one of the DCAOs are busy, and assistant DCAOs. But they're also the people who on Monday mornings sit right in the seats that you're in right now. This is where they sit. And the reason that I wanted them in there is because, one, I have to see them every day. If they designate a staffer, I don't really have to see them. I can actually, if you were a director here, you don't ever see me. You can see me like once a year. But Barry, I've got to see. But I also wanted the community to be able to say is, when you call Barry Stanton, if he can't get it fixed, that's right, he's calling on it because he is the guy that has these departments, because he sits up here, there's only directors report up. So you're speaking at these meetings with the people who actually have those departments under them. And it's no accident that we put somebody from every single part of our government, even those who don't feel like they need to be on TNI. You know, there's a whole bunch of, finance, budget people who are like, we ain't got nothing to do with that. Yes, you do. It's all involved. So that was an important part, that calling Mr. Stanton, if you go right, and that's what you should do, go right to the top. Because that's the only way we make this thing workable and feel it. Because then I'm gonna ask about it in the morning, and then he's gonna ask about it, then they're gonna ask about it, and so it's a reverse. We're not working our way from the bottom up, we're working away from the top down. Sorry.
That's okay, and like I was gonna say, let's say Mr. Stanton, I think you were out of town, so Nicole, she steps right in. Nicole will step right in, she'll answer the email, give back to me, she'll do a follow-up. But the reason I'm here today, I just wanted to say you guys are doing a great job, don't go anywhere. I want to see some law that would make the landlord more accountable about what's going on in their house. I mean, they rent them out and they disappear and collect the money. House falling apart, with drugs or whatever. I would like to see, because the house next door for me for 10 years, I've been trying to get somebody to do something about. I would like the landlord to be more accountable to who he rent out to and their action.
Yeah, we're dealing with her next door neighbor issue. We did some things the other day over there.
You did. I
I
woke
told
up
you,
taking
just
my
hold on,
granddaughter
it
to
takes time.
school.
We actually had a warrant, a search, and we had a lot of things to clean that house up, so I told her it takes time,
I know.
and we're there.
I know.
We're not done yet.
I woke up, I was taking my granddaughter to school, and I'm looking around, I'm like, oh, so they did, all right. It was saying she had to see it, but it had to be done, but I would like to see more police presence, and I know, I can't have them 24 hours a day. It's a pretty good job. I'm kind of pleased with Major Garrett and his group, but I would still like to see the landlord more accountable for who they rent to.
So I just think it's really important that community engagement, I think that's what we take away, but the education piece of what should we hold you responsible for and what are our responsibilities in getting that information out to our community. And you've been to Birchwood,
Yes.
Sometimes we might have 40 people, sometimes it might be the same 20 people that are there all the time. But you treated it as if it was 1,000 people, because if they're not there, we get the word out through our monthly newsletter. We have a wonderful newsletter that we send out. So I think we're talking about community engagement and just staying where we can address the issues that were in the strategic plan. Environment is very important. If we're trying to attract businesses and opportunities for growth. MGM is not the end all. We still live there. MGM is there, we're there as well. So we don't want MGM to build around us and we be forgotten. So environment, the plan that is in place is good. Also, in terms of the economy, we talked about, I think I went to a budget meeting, and we talked about empowering the youth, because that's where our pipeline is. So even if TNI goes away and it comes back, what are we doing for the pipeline of the children that are coming out of school? You know, and if they're not getting anything after school, then they're taking goods and services from us, such as break-ins. So we need to look at the economy, but preparing our citizens for that, on top of bringing economic development to Oxon Hill. You know, we have the wonderful Rivertown. You know, we could have some other establishments. I shouldn't have to go across the bridge to enjoy a cup of coffee, but you do until you can attract those businesses. So there's a way to attract them. So we want to work with you as a community of how do we attract those businesses. Nicole has been instrumental in working to get a playground at the Southern Marketplace. And,
Yes.
and then thank you all for getting the dumpsters there. But that's the kind of community that plants that seed to build on it, so that we bring, you know, jobs to our area. So economy is one area. Transportation, no, that's a big one. That'll be, we'll be in wheelchairs before all the everything's in place there. But we're concerned about the walking community, and I've raised that before. A lot of our citizens walk. They're low incomes, they can't afford a car. And even if they could, they might want to walk because of the health. But we need to take a look at the roads and the roadways in our community. So we're asking for your continued support as we work with you. Housing. What can I say about housing? You talked about, you know, some blight that we might have and the steps that are taken. And I think, you know, squatters have more rights than people that live in a house. We'll get a tax bill and have to pay it, but a squatter can be there for a year. Or blighted property can bring down your value. So we really need to focus on housing and what that means to the community. Because again, we want to attract people. You know, if people are going to be working at MGM, Birchwood would be a wonderful, how many properties do we have? We have 800 homes, and we might have, what, about 50 vacancies or something like that? About 50 vacancies. Just imagine attracting middle income, or, you know, just attracting people. Birchwood is the place to be. You know, so we want you all to help us say, Oxon Hill is the place to be, whether, you know, it's Glass Manor or Birchwood or Prince George's. Again, we're in that. Quality of life and society. Again, I think that TNI has done a wonderful job. They're listening to what we say. We just want a continued presence. And to me, it shouldn't have to have an initiative at the end. It has to be that we are citizens of Prince George's County. And if we're going to envision Prince George's, I don't think we have to wait till 2035 to enjoy, you know, where we work and play. So I would say what rises to the top for me, and speaking of the community, is youth. We have to focus on the youth, and I've made myself available anything that I can do, any programs that you might have, but sometimes you can't do everything. So that's why we're here as a community to say we want a partnership, and we don't want it to go by the wayside. And we still have to be in the present. We're in the present now, so what can we do now? And then if someone comes behind you, when they do, it's continuity, because that's what we expect, that's what we deserve, and we're paying our taxes, and we want to continue to work, you know, with the county and learn more about it. We need to learn more about what you do, how it impacts us, the laws, the regulations, how it impacts us as citizens, and I think that's the part. 311 is wonderful, but it is 311. It's, you know, we call, that's complaining. We want to get off that table and get on the table of progress, put things in practice. How are our students doing? Are people living as they should? So that's what I wanted to say on quality of life and society. And then local planning and land use. We have beautiful parks, even getting the word out on how to better utilize them, using the resources that we have, the acreage that we have in Birchwood. We could do a lot of things with that. We could have a youth empowerment center on that land. we can take one of the homes in Birchwood and have that be one-stop employment for young people or development. 100 concerned black men, or it doesn't matter, 100 concerned people that are interested in growing our youth. Utilize what we have. We don't have to reinvent anything. The infrastructures are there. We just have to, use it to just make the best use of it that we can. And we know dollars are involved in some of these things, but time is involved as well. So again, I wanna just thank you for having us, and again, thank Barry and Nicole and all the people, the Wizard of Oz behind the scenes that make it happen, because you all are doing a great job, and we want to continue to partner with you.
One of my concerns is learning the formulation of policy, of who's involved in making the policy, engaging your community in that process. I think that's very important, and it's also very, making our community aware of what is needed to put in practice for that. I think that's something that we need to look at, because again, you have a lot of underserved and underprivileged people in our community as well that may not know. So we gotta continue to bring awareness all of the time. And just say, for example, when you're making policies, and this is something that's kind of bothered me a little bit, mainly because I've had grandchildren in one of the community schools. Who was a decision maker, or who were the decision makers in deciding the fact that 30+ kids have to be in a classroom setting? And she is gonna talk on that. Yeah, she's gonna talk on that, but I'm just saying that was some of my concerns right there. So just getting us involved in the policy practices and things of that nature.
I'm Christine. I know that most of you guys haven't met me before. As the leaders of the communities talked about the TNI, we talked about what was going well. We want you guys to know what really makes a difference to us. And the first one is the engagement that it gives to the citizens. It really has, we feel like, really helped more citizens be involved with their community, be involved with, instead of just sitting around griping, but actually being able to do things. So the other one that me and my husband have both really felt is the access to government. We felt like, background, we've lived here about 6 years. We both grew up in Utah. We moved to Indiana for graduate school. We were there for 6 years, and then we moved here. My husband's an employee at the Naval Research Lab, and he bikes to work. So when we looked for housing, we looked for somewhere close enough to bike. So that was really the Oxon Hill area, maybe a little bit of Fort Washington, Alexandria were our options, and we chose Birchwood. We love it there. We have always loved it there. We were victims of an armed robbery actually about a month ago, and the detective, when he was there at 2 a.m, taking the fingerprints and everything, said, "So are you gonna move now?" And we said, "We really don't want to. We really like it here." So we really do like it. We really like it. But when we first moved here, we felt like when there were potholes, when there were problems, it was very difficult to access the government. It's a huge government. It's a really huge government. And it's hard. We feel like the 311 has made a huge difference, and we feel like the TNI has made a gigantic, huge difference in being able to get things done, from the little things to these bigger things that we've been talking about. The other one that we have really felt is the reduction in crime that's come from the police presence that's been there, and that has been really great, especially as we were the victims of an armed robbery, and the police were there so quickly and so professional. And my sister up in Baltimore, dealing with all the police distrust in that area, and we've just felt so grateful that we have a lot of police trust in our area, that the police have really been engaged in our community well.
Here's what I say. So each area you're the community advisors.
Right.
You're running this thing right now. What we want to make sure is that yours is strong. What we have to make sure is it gets stronger, and that each of the other ones get just as strong. There are some, I can tell you, that are at the cusp in terms of really we're going to reevaluate whether in fact the indicators have gone up so much that they should not be included. There's at least one or two, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, where it has really, even in terms of a lot that has to do with the education and the economic development that's happened, that is really starting to change it. But really what we need to make sure is, and we're gonna look at and come up with a decision on how we, even internally, how we centralize the whole TNI in the government. Because right now it's the DCAOs and the assistant DCAOs who have it. And so how do you make sure that we're hearing from the community that ties together? But that really the board of directors for each TNI is community. You're the driving force around it. And the best way to ensure it sustains itself is one, get more community involvement, but two, more access. So the more you use the TNI to solve the problems and to talk about what Rivertown looks like, because we're gonna redevelop Rivertown. It's gonna happen. The whole
We wanna be
notion
a
of,
part of it.
that's right, how do you make sure, so transportation. There is gonna be a transportation scheme for the southern part of the county, because it has to be. Once you put National Harbor there, once you put MGM, then you move up on, and this is how government, you talk about policy, how does it work? Transportation follows development in major projects. You got a major project, you automatically skip line. 210 was not a priority when I came in here. Soon as, and not even because National Harbor was there, it still didn't make it a priority. Because you looked at everything else, 210 is a state highway. Once you put MGM there, guess what? That shot to number one. Because now it's not just about a particular area, it's about Forestville, it's about Oxon Hill, it's about Birchmere, it's about Rivertown, it's about that whole area that now becomes an economic development hub, but it's also about southern Maryland and Virginia. Access from Virginia to National Harbor, access to MGM, access from southern Maryland throughout. So it shoots up. But having the community involved in saying, okay, how do we make sure, what is it, and what do we look like? Because the next evolution from the community is, and we'll know we're on the right path if we come back here, and you're always gonna have issues you wanna raise. But if there are less issues, which some say are complaints, but I don't, I call them issues. If there are less issues and more proactive, what are we gonna look like?
Right.
Schools are a great example. So from class sizes to academics. So hey, we're no longer talking about 30 kids being in a class. We're talking about, well, why don't we offer, and we are doing more of this, so I need something. Language is always a big one for me. So it's not a question of class sizes, it's specialty programs. Why can't I get, Spanish immersion in my school? Why can't I get Mandarin? Or something like that. So see what I mean? But it comes from not, wow, there's just too many kids, to why don't we offer this, which will be more attractive?